everyone, this is Sharkman back with another video. This will be me continuing my human wizard game, and the reason why I'm doing a live commentary as opposed to recording me playing and then speaking over it is because I want to illustrate my thought process while I'm playing. It's much easier to go back and look at everything that's happened and what you're going to do when you record and then speak over it, dub it over later. And so I think it's important to show my thought process as I'm playing rather than with the additional knowledge of 2020 hindsight or whatever. So I'm in dungeon level 4. There I killed Pykel. There's a shop over there where I need to buy boots. And I guess I'll just continue playing then. So right now I'm looking to get away from the scorpion and put boots on a shopping list. So shopping lists are pretty convenient because if you're lacking gold for an item in a shop, you press the capital letter for the item and they'll put it on your shopping list. And then at any other time when you go to, if you press the money symbol or shift 4, it'll show you what you have in your shopping list, the amount of gold you have, and if you can buy it or not. And if you have enough to buy it, you can press that letter to travel there to the shop. And what's nice is once you hit the amount of gold that needed to buy an item on your shopping list, a little prompt will appear and say you have enough gold to buy this item on your shopping list. So the boots are on my shopping list because I actually really want those. And I'm going to try to kill the scorpion. Now, I know I didn't talk about Mephetic Cloud. Mephetic Cloud is a 3-school spell, which makes the investment quite a bit higher for the spell than a single school or a double school. A single school is level 3 spell, or a double school level 3 spell like Conjure Flame. But it makes a 3x3 cloud, and depending on the spell power, changes the amount of, and not every square is filled with a lasting noxious cloud, and any monster that's not immune to poison or immune to confusion is confused, I think. Yes. So any monster that is immune to I don't actually think there are any monsters that have the clarity ability. I think clarity is just a player ability. I fled from the situation because there's too many guys to deal with. I'd like to be humorous. I mean, I would like to be humorous and entertaining, but I don't know if that's particularly possible for me, considering that I'm trying to give commentary on play and optimal play, so that might just not be a thing. Right here where the scorpions are is a vault, and in the vault there tends to be 4 very nice weapons. One of them can sometimes be the special Unrandart singing sword. That is a pretty decent item. I'll talk about that item if I find it. So I confused the ogre. Oh, I should talk about weapon damage. Alright, monster weapon damage, if they carry items, is modified by their weapon. So orc warriors do 20 damage on hit, but that's only if they're unarmed. When they're carrying a weapon, say a spear, you add the base damage of the weapon to their weapon damage. So an orc warrior hitting with a spear can do up to 26 damage. A ogre, which their base damage I think is either 13 or 17, adds 20 from this giant club. So ogres can do you over 30 damage in a single hit. And that is further modified by the weapon's enchantment. So if the weapon is a +2 weapon, it would add 2 to that value. That's a bit of information that it took me forever to find that out. It wasn't readily available, and I think it's important to know. I'm going to try to go through this vault because sometimes there's things like an executioner's axe or really, really, really rare items in there. But it's filled with scorpions and bats, I think. Yeah, and some mushrooms, I guess. I should actually rest up. So when I killed Edmund earlier, I took his leather armor because I don't like robes very much because they give you a very small amount of armor. They only give 2 base armor and can be enchanted to +2. Leather armor is a nice upgrade, gives 3, and then this one I was pretty sure was enchanted because it was glowing. If you find a glowing one on the ground, there's a fair chance that it's cursed, but a glowing armor on a unique, it might be quite a bit better. And this one was a +1 leather armor cold resist. A important thing important tidbit of information to know is how much resistances reduce damage. For instance, there are 3 levels to both fire, cold, and negative energy resist. The first level of fire and cold resist reduces damage by 1/2, 50%. The second level is 66%, 2/3, and the third level is 86%, or 80%. It's somewhere in the 80s realm. And you don't really need much more than 1 rank in both fire and cold. It's very useful to have when, like, in later game you run across a fire or cold giant. If you have a fire or frost giant, if you run into if they use their spells like alright, well, I found an executioner's axe, but I think this one is, yeah, it's a -3. It's a really good weapon, but it's got a really bad enchantment, and that's typically what you find. Yeah, -3 Morningstar. You find nice weapons with really bad enchants, so typically I would never ever use them. And also, the amount of skill it needs to effectively use an executioner's axe is absurdly high. I need to really be careful here because these are the Orc Wizard and Orc Priest. I'm going to confuse them, walk away, and fight them another time. I had forgotten to learn Repel Missiles. That was a mistake of mine. Repel Missiles reduces the ability of ranged attacks to hit you. It reduces, like, physical things like arrows and bolts, and also some spells. But I think spells are reduced less, so it's less Repel Missiles is less effective against non-physical missiles, which, I don't know, makes sense a little bit. Alright, so I ran out of magic trying to fight this scorpion, and I don't feel totally comfortable with my maces and flails, so I'm just going to try to confuse it and run away. And close the door. The slave opened the door, which was not intended, but that's okay. I think I'll drink the potions of beneficial mutation now. So I got 2 ranks of rugged scales, which is very, very nice. They give AC and % hit points. So the more hit points I have, the more hit points I get from the rugged scales. When I hit level 9, I increased dexterity again because when I start training dodging, I really want to gain evasion pretty quick because I'm at the point where I may want to stop training may want to stop training fire, poison, and air magic, so I can focus on some weapon skill and some defense. Here's the Orc Priest. Orc Priests are a dangerous enemy for a lot of players, and that's because they have the smiting ability. Smite, they can use Smite if you're in view, and it does between 7 and 17 damage. Irresistible, there's really nothing you can do about it. The way to deal with a smiter is to kill them or run away. That's basically your best bet. If you're fighting an Orc Priest on a level that's unlike this, because this has a lot of open rooms with a lot of corners, you can try to keep turning corners and make sure line of sight is broken so they can't see you. Because if they can't see you, they can't hurt you. In almost every case. Because, oh, this is another vault. There's all these weird bats. And these are very... I think there's like an invisible bat in here too, and since I don't see invisible, I'm not going to go in there. I'm not sure, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Also, I placed an exclusion there. If you don't know how to place an exclusion, you can move around the screen with X and select a tile and press E for large exclusion. That means you won't go within sight of that tile. Or you could reduce it down to a single square, which means the game will prompt you if you want to go into it, and you will never travel through it unless you do it by commands. Auto Explore will prevent you from going that way. So if you put an exclusion towards the entrance of a room, like say here and here, you won't enter that room with Auto Explore. And that's pretty useful if you find something that you want to avoid, like this bat vault. I'm trying to get my blink failure rate down. That way, if it's reliable, then I can reliably use it in a dangerous situation. This is a buckler. A buckler is the tiniest shield, and it's a decent shield. Bucklers are nice if you have a nice one-handed weapon and are looking to gain some extra defense. There was a shield reform where shield values were lowered a lot, but the value of each individual shield point was increased. So the value of 1 point of shield is about the same as a point of evasion, roughly. And then you can negate the penalties that shields give you by training an appropriate level of shield skill. But I'll talk about that in a little while when I probably start training shields. So I found a book of party tricks, and this book is one of my favorites because it has 3 spells that I really like to have on pretty much any character. Those are Summon Butterflies, Apportation, and Blink. Summon Butterflies creates butterflies, as you can see, and these are friendly and they flutter around and they get in enemies' ways, and you can use them to escape and slow down your enemies. And then Apportation takes a item that you see on the ground and teleports it to you. Alright, this is a unique named Estachio, and he's got a mustache. He summons mammals, he summons bats and quokkas, along with minor demons, like the kinds of imps, and other 5 demons. There's 5 levels of demons, 5 being the weakest, and 1 demon's being the strongest. So, let's see. Estachio has a rapier of anti-magic, which on hit reduces the amount of mana you have, or magic points, whatever. And so the effect that when you wield an anti-magic weapon, it reduces your mana pool by 2/3. I was pretty lucky with this rugged brown scales. Alright, so this is a Sky Beast. Sky Beasts do electricity branded damage. They are either resistant or immune to electricity. Immune, they randomly turn invisible, but sometimes they'll enter flame clouds, and oh, yeah. So right here, these messages, something hits you but does no damage, something hits you, something shocks you, is the invisible Sky Beast in that tile hitting me. And he's taking damage from the flame cloud, and I'm taking damage from him because I wasn't paying attention. And so I'm going to press Control 4. That means I swing in that direction and don't attack in it. I mean, or not necessarily 4. I mean, I use the number pad, but I'm going to swing at this spot, and I hit him. I killed him. I gained 2 levels of fighting because I was training fighting, and I didn't mean to train fighting. But that's good. Fighting gives you hit points and improves your weapon damage by a pretty decent percentage per level. I think it's roughly 2% per level, which when you add it up is quite significant. And then fighting gives hit points based on your base hit points, base hit points, and then it gives some hit points independent of your base hit points. So even races with small HP pools like Felids, Spriggans, and Vinestalkers will get some mileage out of training a few levels of fighting. Alright, so that's an Orc Priest. I'm going to attempt to confuse them again. So when they're confused, they can't smite you, and that's a pretty wonderful fact. It's pretty nasty. When you're in the early game and you see an enemy with a runed weapon, it's always safe to assume the worst. Like, it's going to be a distortion weapon and you're going to get banished, or it's going to be an electricity branded weapon and you're going to die if you get hit when you only have 20 so life. Let's see, right now I'm training maces and flails. I actually want translocations higher. That way blink will not fail me when I need it. So the way blink works is that it blinks you to any space in sight, but I'm almost positive that you won't get blinked one space away, like here, unless there is no other spot for you to go to. So that guy's got a runed war axe, and he's currently, so I really wanted to confuse him instead of just fighting him straight up, because with a couple levels in maces and flails, this dire flail is actually kind of effective now. So I saw that little prompt that told me I have enough to buy the boots, so I'm going to go travel to buy the boots, because 1 AC is worth it. They are +0 boots. Great. So I've got 8 armor class and 10 evasion, and that's pretty decent for this point in the game. Where we're at. Yep. Alright, so I went down a different... Oh, shoot, I went down to level 6 by accident. There's an Orc Warrior here, and he's wielding a longsword, so he can do me a ton of damage. But he's a space away, and I really don't want to deal with him, so I'm going to go up the stairs. And this orc is going to follow me because he was next to me, and I'm going to place an exclusion on the stairs so I don't go down them. If you place an exclusion on the stairs, it won't prompt you to move through it, but it'll prompt you when you go down. I've found out. Crimson Imp, okay, I mean I killed it immediately. Alright, I'm going to read this scroll. Okay, so the reason I read this scroll, the J scroll, is because I had a stack of 2 of them, and in general it's better to have 1 identified scroll rather than 2 unidentified scrolls, typically. So when you hit, unless you're sitting on a large stack of identify scrolls, you want to Okay, so now I'm trying on my rings and amulets. Alright, so I got a ring of magical power, amulet of warding, and ring of sustainabilities, and none of them were cursed, so that was nice. And because I have, I'm going to try on, cursed ring mail, darn. Alright, I'm going to remove cursed ring mail because I don't want to wear it. But I'm not going to try on my other leather armor because I'm now out of remove curse scrolls. Let's see, did I finish explaining the... Magical power gives you like 9 more magic. Alright, so I found the first altars in the game at dungeon level 5, which is a little bit late, I think, for at least a first altar. This is Che Brightos. He slows your movement and increases your stats. That's not really useful for me. I mean, it's not great for me. Fountain, or Altar to Rue. Rue's the new deity in 0.16, and I haven't used him enough to try him out here. The Shining One, he's one of the good deities. I'm not going to use him because I use Mephitic Cloud, and that's poison. He doesn't like poison. And here's Sifmona. Sifmona gives you spellbooks, and one of the main benefits from Sifmona is you get to channel mana from her, and while that's really nice, that's not exactly something I need on this hybrid character. So, Conjure Flame is nice because you can use it to block hallways, and depending on the intelligence of your enemy, they may or may not pass through it. I found a scroll of Identify. I identified that potion. It was a potion of resistance. Another die of flail. Alright, well, I was really pretty lucky that I was so close to the centaur, because I was able to close the gap between him and I before he saw me, before he woke up, because centaurs are a dangerous early game threat, because they usually carry bows, and the base damage of a bow is 9, and centaur base damage is maybe 5? I'm not sure. And so they can do 14 damage, and they move fast. They move pretty fast, so they can get off lots of shots, and that at a range is pretty dangerous for a lot of characters. So typically now, the way I usually play is I use my spells to debilitate my enemies, and then use melee to... I train translocations too long. I use melee to do them damage. And so I'm going to train Maces and Flails to about maybe 8 to start. Mephitic Cloud is just really, really powerful. And ooh, I found the temple. Okay. Alright, that was really dumb of me because the Jackal's now covering the stairs. And instead I shouldn't have grabbed the scroll. I should have walked back to the stairs and walked up the stairs. So now I'm going to start casting the Mephitic Cloud, hopefully to confuse these enemies, and make it up the stairs. The reason the Orc Warrior didn't follow me is because he was confused. Otherwise he would have. And if he wasn't confused, when I tried climbing up the stairs, I would not have tried. It can be worth it to cast Mephitic Cloud upon yourself and get yourself hit by it, because the confusion from Mephitic Cloud at least usually doesn't last particularly long, but it's a trade-off between getting some rounds confused and confusing your enemies. So I found a wand, my first wand. It's a wand of lightning. This is one of the attack wands. It's pretty powerful. It basically uses lightning bolt, and it bounces, so you can engineer scenarios where it hits an enemy twice. So for instance, if I zapped my wand of lightning, it would go here, here, and then bounce off this wall up here, up to this tile. and crossing this square twice and hitting the kobold zombie twice, and then it would go like down here-ish. That's called multi-zapping, and if you want to play an air elementalist or anyone who uses lightning bolt or shock, it's a very useful thing to experiment with and learn how to use. So that orc wizard was all alone and wandering, so he didn't shout. Or did he shout? I don't think he shouted. No, he didn't. So I cast Magic Dart at him to get his attention, and then I tried to get out of the way so no orc warrior, priests, or other wizards would follow me. Because if a unit or a enemy shouts, it's not like the other enemies know where you are. They're attracted to where the enemy shouted from. And so fighting back here, as long as I don't make a lot of noise, Mephitic Cloud makes a fair bit of noise. As long as I don't make a lot of noise, I can kill this guy and then get out of the way to regenerate. Okay. This is Grinder. Grinder is a unique imp, shadow imp, some kind of imp. Shadow imp, yes. And he's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Because he can paralyze you and he blinks. He gives a lot of XP and is generally very unpleasant to deal with. If I was playing, say, a necromancer who doesn't have easy access to abilities that are good with dealing with demons, like they're good at dealing with living beings because they have vampiric draining and pain, good with dealing with undead because they have control undead, and besides having minions fight using like animate skeleton and having minions fight a demon, they don't have anything in their starting spellbook that's easy to deal with them. If that was the case, if I was playing a necromancer and Grinder noticed me, I would start running away and I would keep turning corners to remove line of sight. Either I eventually get to a staircase, climb up it and go somewhere else, or he will eventually lose interest. But I'm playing a wizard, and especially at level 9, I think I have the tools for dealing with him. Grinder will enter flame clouds. At least I'm pretty sure. And so he's also kind of clever that way. Shoot. All right. Grinder went this way around instead of up this way, which I had expected. He could have paralyzed me. I'm sitting at 64 life, so I don't think he would have been able to kill me by the time Paralyze wore off. But instead he zapped the Wand of Frost he was carrying. And that's okay because I have a Armor of Cold Resist. Alright, Grinder blinked out of the way. So I've got paralyzed. So now for the next like 4 to 6 turns maybe, I won't be able to take any actions. But I'm not too worried. Let's see. I've got to stop recording now. I'll start up again soon. Until next time.